Hey there, you, me, and DC fans, and welcome if you are new. I am the stepson of Krypton,
Nah, Mantis.
and today we are talking about to nerf or not to nerf. That is the question. Mantis, are you ready to get on into this discussion?
I'm ready to nerf something.
All right, let's. Everybody else is nerfing shit. Let's just. Damn it, I got stuff. All right, I'll beep that out.
You can
Let's
beep
just
it.
go before it gets bad. All right, guys. So when we say to nerf or not to nerf, and it is the question indeed, what we mean by that, and if you're watching this right now or at the time of recording, we have just released our James Gunn comic characters video where he had stated that not everybody is going to like his portrayal of certain characters because he's pulling from different eras of the comics and things like that. It raises a great question because we're seeing it a lot in comics now, especially on, let's go to the MCU side, where and we've done a video on this, the too big for the big screen. It's like a year ago. I'll have it down here. It was well, a little over a year ago now,
A
but
little
it
over,
was
yeah.
our characters becoming too big for the big screen. So the question obviously has to be arose though: if you want those big characters, do you nerf them to make them more palatable for your target audience? And when I say target audience for these companies, it's what's going to make them the most freaking money, right? That's their target
Mhm.
audience is the most people. Like Mantis, what are your thoughts on the nerfing? Right, but we'll get into it a little more detail. But what are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's all. Do you want to see what the comic book characters are actually capable of, or do you want it palatable not only for audiences, but can what they do be done on the screen, and will it make sense to viewers and to the plot storyline, right? Because as we've seen in comic books, particularly through the MCU, because they really haven't tried to get into it so much on the DCU side, but you know, you end up having to nerf certain characters, whether that be heroes or villains, to fit to the story, the plot, what's going to happen down the line. And even during some of those things, they don't make too much sense. And you get into continuity issues. Therein, we always bring up Captain Marvel, just things that when you bring those characters in later in the series, they don't necessarily make too much sense of what happened before then that they could have possibly helped with, and you have to write a line of dialogue to make it make sense, and then we're upset about it. So it's a double edged sword. I'm personally, excuse me, in the favor of what the comic powers are and their power levels go with that. Or you releasing a Brainiac video sometime here soon of the intellect capability of said Brainiac. Um, Make it like the comics. Make it you need to use the power levels and what they can actually do from the comics, move that into the silver screen realm and try to make it work. I think it's more challenging, don't get me wrong there, but at least for me, that's what I would want to see. With that being said, I do understand the limitations of technology, and writers nowadays are stupid and most likely will get replaced by AI. So it it is what it is on that side. We get what we get. But if you have a wish list, if I have my way of doing things and there was no money involved, there was no technological barriers there, and it was like literally for me viewing this film, that's what I would want.
Well, and one of the things you bring up that from the comics, right? One of the things we discussed in the video, our James Gunn comic characters video is, and really actually in the other one too, is that which version do you pull from the comics, right? Because obviously, like even Superman from when he first started in 1938, he didn't have all the powers he does now. Through the comics, he's gained so much more powers, and especially once you got into animated and things like that, where you need these awesome powers to showcase, right? He's gained
Mhm.
more and more power. The thing I kind of feel like with power is once the character gains it in the comics and such, it's hard to dial him back, right? Because now people want him
Mhm.
at this power level. And I'll
Mhm.
use the example, and guys, I'm going to go ahead and say this so I don't upset anybody ahead of time. I still have not seen Fantastic Four First Steps because I don't have Disney Plus. I stopped paying for it. Um, I'm hoping come Christmas here they'll have it on a good sale because nobody's selling physical media right now, and I just don't order it off Amazon yet. But a lot of people had a problem with Galactus. We're finally getting to see a non-smoke cloud Galactus, but they're like, well, he's so small. Well, that was in the original like comics in his beginnings. That's about the size he was.
Hmm.
But do you go back to that in the comics, or do you go more of he is celestial size like we have also seen him in the more current comics, and you make him, planet size, which if you look at what happened with Eternals, a lot of people weren't it didn't resonate with a lot of people, right? It wasn't as palatable to have a planet-sized being just kind of standing out there because I mean to see both of his hands moving at the same time, Earth would be about this big, like it makes it harder for the average person who doesn't know who these characters are or much about them to digest and want to, oh, that was a great movie. I want to go
Hmm.
see it again, or I want to go see a sequel, which is why we
Yeah.
didn't get an Eternals too.
And well, the comic books, you bring up a good point. I mean, they can suffer from the same one line of dialogue issue that the movies fall under, right? Like, there's nothing preventing the writers of the comics from just saying, "Oh, they found the so and so device, so now they can travel back in time." Right? Like, I mean, we're kind of seeing something similar with the Heart of Apocalypse in the Absolute slash DCKO event. And don't get me wrong, like I like that, but it's not necessarily used in the same context. But if they wanted to, they could, right? You just write in whatever, and now, well, now the version of Superman and the Justice League at this point, if whoever wins that gets, the Heart of Apocalypse, now they've got all this power, they can do whatever they want now. Well, now James Gunn makes sense. It's like, well, do you want me to get this version of this character that now has unlimited power essentially? Like, you know.
I think for the comics though, it's easier to if you have a character that snaps a finger and wipes out a galaxy. That's easier because you flip the page and it's changed, right? And it's not as big a shock because you're
Yeah.
going from panel to panel. This happened, this happened. Versus if that happens on the big screen, people are gonna be like, "What the
What?
fuck was that?"
What is that? What the fuck is that?
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, do you nerf them? And when you kind of go through, and guys, just because here's the thing I'll say, both DC and Marvel, they don't handle power well, right? Like there's always these, oh, we gotta like make the character slow down a little bit for this scene, or like how come Flash couldn't have just gone and stopped them, right? There's always these plot holes that they just kind of just we won't talk about it, it'll go away, right? Both of them
Mhm.
are kind of bad about it. The difference is DC has kind of struggled to get a long line of movies like the MCU has, where MCU is now built up to Avengers Doomsday and soon to be Secret Wars, where you're going to bring in at least one. I don't know if if the Beyonder race is going to come in, but if the Beyonder is coming into it, you're talking about a character on a power level that I mean, I would say the only other character that comes close that we've ever seen in a live action movie is maybe Doctor Manhattan. Like
Maybe. Yeah.
if we're talking, and Beyonders, I think is far beyond the powers of Doctor Manhattan.
Right.
Again, that are wiping entire universes out, and you've struggled even bringing like if and we're going to go through more of MCUs just because they've had more powerful characters that we've seen, but like, if you look at like Odin, we saw Odin from Thor, from the first Thor. We never got to see Odin anywhere near full power. Odin always looked like he was struggling, and that's not the case, right? Odin was
Mm.
super powerful. He's in most people, and I will say in mine at least. You can comment down there if you think I'm a retard, like somebody else said in there on this that the Thanos didn't really put his effort into going. I know he said I'll go get him myself or whatever, and he still never did shit um, until Odin died. He wasn't
Mhm.
going after the Infinity Stones until Odin died, right? But we never got to see Odin's power. He was so nerfed. Thor was severely nerfed. Thor's powers have done this in the MCU because he went all the way up here. We got up to Thor Ragnarok. He was badass. Fucking, immediately. Oh, I need a new hammer. Got to go spend an entire movie to go track that down. Very next movie. Now I'm fat and I'm depressed because I lost everything and now I don't have any power. It's just a way of nerfing him for plot points, right? To make it again fit in the movie. Doctor
Right.
Strange. We never got to see Doc. Fuck the whole damn fight through the Infinity War. He never used the Time Stone. Like,
Yeah.
use his spells. Wanda. Wanda never got to
Yeah,
see
we
this.
talked about that. Yeah, Wanda. I mean, she in the Infinity War, she should be able to kind of just do away with all of the invasion force if she wanted to. Like,
Well, explain to me how two of the most powerful of the six, let's take of the core Avengers. I say six, there's more, but you know what I mean. Of the main Avengers, explain to me in the MCU there at that time how two of the most powerful, other than really Thor, literally got manhandled by people who just end up getting their ass kicked by three humans, only one of
yeah,
which has the super soldier formula. Like, how do you
yeah.
have Wanda and Vision getting uh manhandled by these people, and then Captain America comes in? Don't get me wrong, love Cap, but like, really?
Shouldn't. Yeah, I mean, again, this is what we talk about. That you have to nerf the powers to make them fit kind of the story plot and the action that you're seeing on the screen. Because it's like the whole Power Rangers thing, right? Like, why don't they just call down the Megazord at the beginning and just stomp on the little monster before Rita makes her monster grow, right? Like that. Like, we wouldn't have it would the episode would be 2 minutes long or 2 minutes long.
The argument there is, in the original theme, it says they only use their powers for defense, right? Now, here's my problem with that. What about the defense of Angel Grove? Because you let this monster grow and you have this big battle and you constantly see the four buildings that are in Angel Grove apparently get destroyed. What about using your powers to defend Angel Grove by getting rid of the monster? Like, you know, the best offense is a good defense, right? I know it's usually probably I think backwards, but like, why not take out the bad guy to defend Angel Grove? Instead, you're like, well, no, we can't attack the bad guy ahead of time because
No.
we can only use him for defense, but we're gonna let a lot of innocent people get killed.
Right. Yep. That's the thing. I don't know, man. I mean, I think we've said it. It's like, you can't, if the people, once you get so far in, like with Iron Man, it wasn't a big deal, right? Like, he's kind of bound by technology to a degree, so his power is not as great, right? But when you start getting knee deep, and we've talked about this, the longer the projected storyline goes, the plot goes, you introduce more and more powerful things, just like a video game. When you're playing an RPG, right? I know you've been playing Fallout. You recently popped up Fallout again. It's like, the enemies that you fight when you're level 1 are not the same enemies that you fight when you're level 30, right? They increase in power level, because otherwise it wouldn't be interesting. You just stomp all over them. Who gives a shit, right? It's great that the plot in the story, in the game, or in the movie, that to keep things interesting. I get why they do it. Don't get me wrong. I get why they do it. But man, it's annoying. It's really annoying, especially when you know the ending, right? When you know what's going to happen, or you know what these people can do, you're just like, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. Why they're dicking around with this when they can just, well, Wanda, I mean, it's almost like in Superman with Guy Gardner. He's walking along, flicking his hand, wiping the army off the map. It's just like, man, you can just do that anytime you want. I mean, why are we dicking around with Hawk Girl flying in, doing nothing, flying around? Like, it just, the two people are not on the same power level.
Yeah, and now I know there's a lot of people who feel, and really it's Snyderverse fans, that feel that, oh, Superman got his ass kicked throughout this movie, so they nerfed him in comparison. And that's actually not the case thus far, because Superman basically fought a version of him, and we had talked about it. If you're fighting somebody, even if you're super durable and super strong, if you're fighting another version of you, they're going to be able to bruise you and do damage, right? He's still in humanoid, so he's taking the damage, and it takes him a lot longer to heal from it because it's obviously greater damage. But this is the one argument I'll say thus far that James Gunn did to opposite the nerf effect is in Man of Steel. You only really see him. He holds up a portion Because if you go back and I'm going to have it playing as I'm saying this, it'll probably be covered in Mantis because I'm talking. No offense, Mantis. But it's the portion. It's a very small portion of an oil rig. And he only keeps it. Now, granted, I know the beams bend and that's why it falls over is because, I mean, it's the weight is not being able to be held, right? But that's just a small portion. Your normal oil rig, you know, for the parts that he was holding. I mean, you're talking in the, you know, maybe 10, 20,000 tons, maybe max, right? The kaiju alone in Superman 2025, if you look at the when Mr. Terrific scans it, it says he's 18 million pounds. And he's holding him pretty easily, right? Like he's not struggling. I mean, fuck, he basically sets him down on top of himself and has to kind of worm his way out of it, right? That kaiju's 18 million pounds.
Yeah. I mean, you said it. He was holding up multiple buildings.
And he wasn't struggling. He was like, because when he looks at her, he's not straining. He starts because the building is starting to crumble. And he's like, hey, can you get out of here? You know, now, right. Like stuff like that. He held up the kaiju's foot as it's trying to smash down on him. And again, this is an 18 million pound kaiju. No props. So I don't think he's been nerfed. But again, the DCU isn't as much in a struggle of it because I think even Darkseid is still a more grounded character. And I say grounded or Brainiac is because Darkseid can't blink out universes with a snap or a thought. You're getting ready to come into Secret Wars in the MCU with the Beyonder who can. Franklin Richards that you do see in. That's the whole thing. Galactus wants Franklin Richards because he knows he's of the cosmic, right? He is going to be that power. Franklin Richards can fucking warp reality and just fucking blink people out of existence. This goes like, what the fuck is Captain America with an adamantium shield gonna do?
Yep.
I say adamantium. Yeah. I'm sorry, you know I didn't mean adamantium.
Vibranium, yeah.
Vibranium. I'm sorry, I'm gonna get some hate for that. I corrected it immediately. Even Wolverine at that point, boom, you're gone, right? Yeah. But you can't show that, right? You're not going to show in a movie, oh, he just does this and boom, Wolverine never existed in the MCU or in all of Marvel. Like, people aren't going to respond to that. What are you going to do? You're going to nerf him. And I don't want to see the Beyonder nerfed.
I don't either. That's why I'm really interested to see how they're going to do that.
It's ballsy as shit to take this on, right? Just like with Crisis on Infinite Earths on the CW. That was fucking ballsy, but what did you do? You nerfed the Spectre. Like, the Spectre is one of the most powerful fucking beings. Actually, you saw two of them because of the most powerful beings. Obviously, in DC, you have the Presence. And I'm not ranking them in order other than the Presence is number one. But, you also have Lucifer Morningstar, who's one of the most powerful. He's in there. And then you have the Spectre. And none of them had any, like, you had to nerf the Spectre. He's asking Barry to get him out of the Speed Force. I'm like, you're the fucking Spectre.
What are we doing here? How do you not know what you... Yeah.
Again, I know people say, well, he just became the Spectre. But once you become it, you kind of are, like, endowed with all the knowledge.
To me, that part... Okay, let's just get real here. With CW bringing that character in there, to me, that is a technological problem, not a plot, like a writing problem. That's literally, like we talked about it, their beginning of time was a fucking gravel pit, right? like that's we don't have the money to make this work how we want to, so we're just gonna see how it does,
I appreciate it. It was ballsy, and I will give them credit for being the first studio to bring in a character like the Spectre and things like that. That's ballsy to try to do because we're not even talking a Netflix budget, right? At least we would have had the Corey from Stranger Things that looked better. We're talking about, it was just I don't know what it is with them and Corey's, because even when you saw in the Shazam movie go into the Rock of Eternity, I'm like, dude, was this on a budget of $50? And everything going on happened with the Rock of Eternity. Again, you kind of had to nerf that whole it gets bad, right? And then there comes the age-old question of would you just rather not see the character come in And when we're dealing, like, I don't care if you make these some side characters, you don't make Hawkman as badass as he should be. I'm okay with some of that stuff, but like when you're dealing with like your Supermans, especially villains, I really hate to see nerf, but your
Yeah,
Supermans, your things in the Captain Adams, your Martian Manhunters, like I don't want to see these characters come in and have to be nerfed to justify their existence in this movie. I don't.
I agree. Yep.
Especially when a lot of their powers are at the core of their character. We got to see a very, very small portion of Martian Manhunter in the DCEU.
Zack Snyder.
We've seen him in
Yeah,
Supergirl a little bit, and all the time he's completely nerfed. He's a very powerful member of the Justice League from everything he can
very.
do, and
Yeah,
he's always completely nerfed.
yeah. I don't know. We can only hope that at least the way the DCU James Gunn has kind of approached this, he's not holding back on power level type stuff. At least at this point, no, Superman's young in this, meaning he just kind of grew into himself as Superman. But I have a feeling they're not going to do that. At least with Superman. Now, there's some leeway there because, like we were talking about with your Brainiac thing, and we've discussed, I think Brainiac's the way they're going to go. At least the next villain in this case with the DCU, they have some leeway in play there because of the built-in stuff from the comics on what level intellect Brainiac can be when he shows up. So they can make him a younger version of Brainiac, or not as advanced, I should say, and kind of play with that so it's not tilted in like, oh, he's super powerful already, and you just ruin it.
He's Brainiac Beta 2.0.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
he's like the second
yeah.
version.
He's running around with Clippy, right?
Oh, R.I.P. Clippy.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, and that's the thing. But also Brainiac, because everything going on with AI, he can kind of be brought in. And again, like
Fits with the plot a
you
little
you
better.
you've already explained that metahumans and they know about other planets, other world, other galaxies, basically, even, and all that. So I think it's going to be a little easier to introduce. Plus, he doesn't have like, oh, I'm going to blink your entire planet out of existence kind of powers. So again, I know that doesn't sound grounded, but I think it is a little more grounded than Beyonder level type powers and such.
Mhm.
And with Supergirl having Lobo come in, I'm really hoping they don't nerf Lobo, because I mean Lobo's his race, the Zarnians, they're damn near immortal. You know,
Yeah,
super strong, not quite as strong as Superman, but I mean he's just basically a slightly weaker, slightly slower, doesn't have the heat vision, but I mean he's basically immortal. He just fucking takes an ass whooping and keeps on coming. So I hope they don't nerf him. But again,
yeah,
I still don't think his power set is something that's going to be too undigestible for the average viewer who isn't familiar with who they are in the comics. I think DC has a little bit better control, because even Doomsday isn't something that, like, he's a one-on-one fighter, he's indestructible. Even if you did manage to kill him, he's coming back. He will destroy a lot, but he's not blowing up
you can't.
planets in one
Yeah,
second with a snap of a finger. Right?
right.
Darkseid still has to go invade with a force. I think that is more cinematic than
Yes.
Beyonder going, I don't like any of you. And you're gone,
Right,
right? Like,
right. Yeah, yeah.
oh,
Yep.
bye Thor, bye Captain America, bye this. Thunderbolts, other than the Sentry, you're all worthless.
Go. Yeah, get
Bye.
out of here. Yep.
Like, I feel like DC has a leg up for that, because a lot more of their stuff is at least more grounded in that sense.
Yeah.
Versus where, don't get me wrong, I love the MCU's going there. I just think, God, that's so risky.
It's
That's
very
it's
risky how they can pull it off.
ballsy.
Yeah. Yep.
It's
It's going to
either,
be amazing. I know you're going to say the same thing. It's going to
yep,
be amazing, or it's going to be shit.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's only going to go one of two ways. It is not
Yep.
going to, kind of like with Eternals. A lot of people, either you loved Eternals or you fucking hated it. There's not really
Yep.
an in between. So,
Yep.
we'll be on the lookout for it. Though I'm not a fan of nerfing. I would rather you just either wait or not bring them in at all. Like, if you can't bring them in to where it makes sense, don't nerf their powers to fit the story. Make the story fit around their powers.
Yep.
Right? That's
Same
my
here.
big
Yeah.
thing. So,
Yeah.
guys, let us know down in the comments though, how do you feel about it? Like, would you rather at least just see the character come in even if they are completely nerfed, or would you rather them stick to how they are, at least how you know them? Now, again, maybe
Yeah.
your favorite version is from the 50s and they didn't have these powers. But,
Yeah.
you know, again, you kind of get used to more current versions that they do have these powers like, oh, this is cool. I don't want him to regress. But
Yeah.
if that is the case,
Just
that's
as
fine.
just as James Gunn said, he's got to pick one. He's not going to make everyone happy. So
Yes. That was what spawned the last video of it is
yeah,
this. So let us know what's going to make you happy. Would you rather see him but get nerfed, or would you rather just wait, or would you rather maybe just
keep him
make
out
a
of it.
good enough fucking story that they can
Yeah.
include them and not nerf them and all that?
Yep.
And if you have made it with us this far, guys, go ahead and consider giving the video a like, subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out if you have the bell notifications clicked on all of the videos we've got, because we've got plenty that's going on in this universe here, but then in our comic book universe it's
Next couple weeks are going to be wild.
next couple. Oh my god, with having full-time jobs and everything else, with the amount of videos we're going to have coming out in the comics, because there is so much happening, because there's literally in 2 weeks we have 6 issues that tie in or that are part of the DCKO event coming out in 1 week that we're going to have to do videos on. So we're going to be putting in some overtime, apparently, unpaid overtime,
Yeah.
and trying to get these out for you guys. But we do it because we love the material and we hope you do as well. So have the bell notifications clicked. You will get alerted when those videos pop out, because we try not to have those be too long out from when they release. So you're going to see them come out pretty rapid fire. Every day or every other day we'll be releasing a new video. So Mantis, before we wrap, do you have anything else?
No.
All right, then I'll hold off. That is going to wrap it for us on this episode of You, Me, and DC. Until next time, guys, we'll see you then.
Later.
Oh, man!